What's going on? This is Big G from G Riders, and welcome to another episode of Testing Rides. Today, I'm going to be testing out the 2010 Ford Crown Vic. Ford Crown Vic. Originally introduced in 1998, these vehicles are mainly used for police fleet vehicles. So, when you see the amber in the middle, it's a police car behind you. So now here in 2018, most of these cars have been retired at this point and replaced with either the Ford Taurus Pursuit Package or the Ford Explorer Pursuit Package, or the Chevy Caprice or the Dodge Charger. So now a lot of these are being retired now. So now is the time. Now is about the time where you could probably pick one up for $500 to $1,000 or so, and make something really cool out of it. So that's exactly what the owner did with this one. So let's talk about this one. Oh, before I get into what's done about it, let's talk about kind of some stock stuff on it. So these Crown Vics came with a 4.6 liter V8 engine that made about 240 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque, and it's basically like a body-on-frame sedan, so it weighs about 4,200 pounds. And because it has a big V8 and weighs about 4,200 pounds, it didn't get the best gas mileage. It gets about 16 in the city and 24 out on the highway, which honestly is not good to today's standards, but considering kind of what it is, definitely not bad. So let's kind of start talking a little bit about what's done on this car. This is my friend Daniel here. You might remember him from the BRZ video like a while ago. This is his project, so since I didn't exactly build this project, I'm gonna have him talk about it a little bit.
Hey there. So there's a couple of things I've done so far to this car, of course. Pretty apparent is the it's not the stock ride height. It's lifted about 3 inches above stock ride height. There's not really much in terms of aftermarket proper off-road lifts available for these, so I went with a 3-inch Lift-A-Brand donk kit.
So you got a donk kit on this thing?
Yep.
That's pretty funny.
And so I also have a 16-inch universal steel wheels, and 29.5 radius tires on it.
Nice.
They're mud terrain tires on them.
Nice.
I have a Go Rhino full wraparound HD bash bar on the front, and I've had a generic 15-inch glass pack welded to the exhaust post catalytic converter, and had the original muffler deleted. So now it's side exit exhaust with a nice little glass pack growl to it.
Yeah, I'll put a clip up of the growl right here.
And a couple other things I've done to the car. Originally it was all white. I plasti dipped the front and rear, and I added my own little artistic additions to the vehicle.
So why'd you plasti dip it?
Just so I could peel off the paint. And the funny thing is, I won't really discuss how much I paid for this car, but I'll just say this much. Right after I picked up this car, they started greatly picking up in popularity, and what I paid for the car, I can make multiple times more turning around and selling it. And so that all came to mind when I did this. I want to be able to reverse the car if I ever want to turn around and sell it again.
Yeah.
The car is a 2010 Crown Victoria, had 89,000 miles when I picked it up.
Oh wow.
It was the police interceptor package, so it has the 3.27 rear end ratio, limited slip. That's one of my biggest complaints with this car right now, is I really feel that it's too tall geared. I mean, first gear ends at about 50 miles per hour on this car. So this car really deserves some 410 rear end gear sets.
Oh yeah.
For the most part, though, the Lift-A-Brand donk kit was pretty difficult to install. I had to, I had to basically have this car sit on jack stands for about 4 days straight, trying to get the kit installed. And my housemate has many woes of helping me out trying to put it all together, especially the rear end of this car, which is just a coil spacer that sits underneath the rear end spring above the solid axle. The front, I had to cut down the studs on the top of the strut to allow it to properly fit in without interfering the bolts that are on the donk spacer above the strut. And the spacers themselves barely fit into the strut housings inside of there, so it was not a really well engineered kit to begin with. And again, it took me about 4 days with the help of my housemate to put it together. And right after I had it installed, some things began to fail in the car, most notably the ball joints. And, I hooned around in it quite a bit and burned out the brakes on it pretty quickly. But for what it is, though, I've still barely put any money into it compared to what I could turn it around, revert it to stock, and sell for a profit.
Yeah. All right, well that's kind of what's done on the car here. Let's go ahead and take it out and drive it and see how it is. Welcome to the driving portion of the 2010 Ford Crown Victoria. I'm going to put a voiceover over this portion of the video because I had some technical difficulties with my GoPros when I was filming the in-car stuff. So I'm just going to do it this way. Anyways, let's talk about how the Crown Vic drives on the road. The Crown Vic drive is actually pretty smooth and stable on the road. The ride comfort remains plush and comfortable even with the 3-inch dunk lift on the car. The handling isn't too bad, but you definitely feel the body roll due to the hefty weight and the lift on the car, of course. And the steering on the car, it feels just like a Crown Vic should, meaning it's light but not overly light and not that direct, but you do have kind of an idea what the front wheels are doing. But that's not really what this car is about. Let's talk about how this thing handles off-road. Since this car is purpose-built for off-road, let's talk about some of the off-road driving characteristics. When you go off the asphalt into the rough stuff, the Crown Vic remains comfortable and very confident inspiring like it does on the road. A normal Crown Vic doesn't have the lowest center of gravity ever, so it probably could go off-road decently without too many problems if equipped with the proper tires, of course. But this one with the 3-inch lift and these big meaty tires, this thing is a beast. We went up a mountain this thing. We drove over some gravel roads that were filled with potholes and uphill, and this thing crushed it like it was nothing. And you guys seen this car go through that mini lake of a puddle like it was nothing. This Crown Vic is a straight beast off-road. One of the reasons this vehicle is so good off-road is because this is basically built on a body-on-frame truck platform, so it's not per se designed to go off-road, but it can be done easily. Also, the owner told me that four-wheel drive could be added to this platform fairly easily. I've been praising this car, and at this point I should talk about some negatives of this car. Honestly, there's not too many negatives, except maybe you get a little bit of tire rub here or there, but for the most part this vehicle is pretty solid. One very, very good thing about this car is the value of it. So on average, Crown Vics are between $1,500 to $4,000 depending on the market around you. So if you want to raise it up like this one and put the similar type of tires on this one, that only sets you back $1,000. So say for instance you get one for $2,500 and add $1,000 into the car, lifting it up and putting the meaty tires on it, you're only in this thing for about $3,500, and you'll have a straight beast of a vehicle to go off-road and have some fun without having to go buy a full truck if you don't really want to do all that. This car is a great car because it's so versatile. So you can either do what my friend Daniel here did, it's just build this thing to go off-road and beast through anything that gets in its way, or you could build a time attack car, you know, to go track racing or autocross racing. And honestly, this thing rides and drives very well, and no matter what you're going to be doing with this vehicle, it's going to remain reliable and bulletproof through it all.